welcome to another episode of Myth, Legends, Fairy Tales, and Makeup, the series where I tell you the original stories of some very popular films while I do my makeup. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Chantal, but you can call me Chanty, and today I'm going to be telling you the story of Beauty and the Beast. This story was written by Jeanne-Marie LePrince de Beaumont. Now, before we get started, I always just like to give a little shout out to Bailey Sarian and Robert Welsh, whose Get Ready With Me series inspired me to create this one. And if you haven't heard of them, I've linked them down below and you should definitely check them out. There was once a very rich merchant who had 3 sons and 3 daughters, whom he spoiled with the finest belongings and amazing education. His 3 daughters were very beautiful, but the most beautiful of them was the youngest. She was so admired for her looks that people called her Little Beauty, and as she got older, they shortened it just to Beauty. Beauty wasn't just gorgeous, she was also really smart and kind. Unlike her sisters, who were extremely materialistic and vain. They were also very jealous of Beauty and thought she was ridiculous for spending more time reading books than partying and enjoying the material things as they did. Now, despite their pride, the sisters still had quite a number of suitors because of their father's wealth. They had many marriage offers from merchants who were hoping to benefit from his good fortune. The sisters turned them all down, claiming that they were waiting for an earl or a duke to propose to them. Beauty also had many offers, but turned them down because she felt she was too young to be married yet. And she wanted to spend a little bit more time with her father before she was wed. Out of nowhere, the merchant lost all of his fortune, and they were forced to move to a home that he had left in the countryside. The sisters wanted to stay at first, but when people found out they were poor, they bailed. The suitors, the socialites, they were all like, oh, we don't have to put up with you anymore. Okay, bye. The sisters went into a state of depression and stayed in bed all day, lamenting the loss of their good fortune. Meanwhile, Beauty, her brothers, and her father all threw themselves into the country living and set to work preparing their country house. Many of the townsfolk were really worried about Beauty because she was well liked. A few suitors even offered to marry her, even though she was penniless. How kind. After about a year of country living, Belle's father received word that a shipment that had been lost was on its way to him, which gave the family hope that their riches would be returned. Now, Beauty's sisters immediately started asking for gifts like dresses and jewelry, all these things that they had been missing, pretty much counting their chickens before they hatched. But the father asked Beauty what she would like as a gift, to which she asked for a rose. Not because she really wanted one, but more because she knew her father wouldn't rest unless she gave him something to grab for her. The father traveled to where the shipment was set to arrive, but it never came, and the father left just as poor as he had been when he arrived. On the journey home, a large storm erupts, and it drives the man to a seemingly empty castle. He makes his way into the castle and finds his way to a great hall with a fire that warms and dries him. He notices a table filled with food and resists at first, but eventually starts eating. After stuffing his face, he wanders until he finds a bedroom and crashes for the night. He woke up in the morning to see a fine suit laid out for him to wear, and as he's leaving, some rose bushes catch his eye, so he leans over to pluck a branch up when a great beast appears and roars at him. The beast is pissed. He calls the man out on the fact that he offered him such beautiful hospitality and it didn't bother him at all while he was there, and then the man just turns around and steals his prized possessions. Those roses were precious to him, and now the man will have to die because of his crime. The merchant starts crying and telling his life story, explaining that he was only taking the rose to make up for the fact that he'd gotten almost nothing on his trip. The Beast tells him that if one of his daughters will stay at the castle in his stead, then he can continue to live and he won't kill the daughter. He lets him leave and sends him off with a chest full of gold to help make up for the fact that he'd be losing one of his daughters. The father returns home with no intention of sending one of his daughters to live with the great beast. His hopes in returning home was to see them one last time and give them the treasures that the beast had given him. When he does return home, the sisters blame Beauty for the fact that they're losing their father and said it was her fault that he was going to die. Beauty agreed with them and insisted on going in her father's place. She continued to insist that he let her go, and her brothers weren't a fan of this, so they started talking about picking up their pitchforks and torches and going to kill the beast themselves, but the father said that this wouldn't be possible because the beast was so large and terrible. Before they left, he continually tried to convince Beauty that she shouldn't go, but she was resolved. Before she leaves, she even encourages her father to take some of the money that he got from the beast and use it to secure marriages for her two sisters who are currently being courted by two men. The two sisters were so overjoyed that she was leaving and that they were finally going to be married that they even faked some tears on her last day with them. The beast greets them when they arrive and asks Beauty if it was her choice to move in with him. She says yes and that she came there willingly. He promptly thanks Beauty's father for staying true to his word and then tells him to never come to the castle again. After her father leaves, Beauty tries to stay positive and decides to wander the castle. She eventually finds a door that says Beauty's apartment on it, so she enters. Inside, she finds a huge library and a harpsichord that she can play. Beauty immediately opens a book and reads the following. Welcome, Beauty, banish fear. You are queen and mistress here. Speak your wishes, speak your will. Swift obedience meets them still. She asked the book to show her her father and was struck with the vision of her father returning home, very sad. Meanwhile, her sisters were overjoyed at the fact that they didn't have their little sister around anymore. Beauty greatly appreciated the gesture, and her dislike of the beast dissolved a little. So much so that night, as she sat down for dinner, the beast asked if he could join her, and she agreed. He asked her if she thought he was ugly, to which she said yes, but she could tell he was good-natured. The beast appreciated her words, but said that he knew he was a monster. When he said that, Beauty replied that she knew many humans who deserved the name monster before him. That many people with beautiful exteriors have terrible hearts, which he clearly doesn't. I'm guessing she was thinking about her two sisters during this conversation. The beast is so pleased with her answer that he asks her to be his wife, to which she says no. The beast is sad but respects her decision and leaves her to eat alone. They carry on like this for about 3 months, in which every night they would have really interesting conversations at dinner, and towards the end, the beast would ask Beauty to marry him, and she would always say no. Finally, she tells him that while she's come to see him as a friend, she could never marry him, so he may as well stop asking her to. He responds by telling her that he's come to love her greatly, and that even if that love is never returned, he will always ask. Then he asks her to promise him never to leave him. Beauty tells him that her father is very ill, and the book has shown her this. She asks if she can go to visit her father for 1 week to take care of him, because her brothers are in the army, her two sisters are married, and her father just lives on his own. And it was breaking her heart to not be able to help him. The beast tells her that she can go, but he knows she's just gonna end up staying. And he'll die from grief. So dramatic. But regardless, he gives her a ring to wear and says that when she's visiting her father, if she feels she needs to leave, that all she has to do is take this ring off, put it on a table, and she'll appear at the castle. The next morning, Beauty awakes in her father's house and gives him a super shock. He immediately calls her sisters and invites them over, and Beauty learns that her sisters are very unhappily married. The first sister married a very handsome but self-absorbed man. Meanwhile, her other sister has a very witty husband who is verbally abusive. When the two sisters learn of how well the Beast is treating Beauty, they become very jealous and want her to suffer as they have. They craft a plan to be extremely kind to her in hopes that she'll want to stick around longer. That way, when she did return to the Beast, he would be very angry and kill her. Sadly, the first part of this plan works because Beauty naively thinks that their kindness is genuine and ends up staying for another week when they cry when she first tries to leave. During the extra days that she spends at her father's house, Beauty thinks long and hard about the Beast and how kind he is to her. She begins to wonder why she turned down his proposal in the first place, because she saw how horrible her sister's husbands were to them and knew that despite his ugly exterior, the Beast was very beautiful on the inside. She realized that having an attractive or witty husband wasn't going to make her happy in the long run, but one who was virtuous and respected her was far more valuable. She realizes that she needs to be with the Beast, and she needs to find him immediately to tell him that she'll be his wife. So she takes off the Beast's ring and puts it on her bedside table, and in the morning she wakes up in the Beast's castle. She finds the Beast in the garden, nearly dead, and pours water on his head to wake him up. He tells her that he was so upset by her not returning after that week that he'd starved himself and was going to die. She tells him, and I quote, "No, dear Beast," said Beauty, "you must not die. Live to be my husband. From this moment I give you my hand, and swear to be none but yours. Alas, I thought I had only friendship with you, but the grief I now feel convinces me that I cannot live without you." Almost immediately after Beauty says this, fireworks and music go off as if something grand is about to happen. And the Beast transforms into a prince in front of her very eyes. He explains that he was cursed by a fairy to stay a beast until a beautiful virgin agreed to marry him. They go into the castle and find Beauty's family there, standing with the fairy that had cursed the Beast. Sorry, the prince. Just let me read you the last two paragraphs of the fairy tale. "Beauty," said the fairy, "come and receive the reward of your judicious choice. You have preferred virtue before either wit or beauty, and deserve to find a person in whom all these qualities are united. You are going to be a great queen. I hope the throne will not lessen your virtue, or make you forget yourself. As to you, ladies," this is her looking at the two sisters, said the fairy to Beauty's two sisters, "I know your hearts, and all the malice they contain. Become two statues, but under the transformation, still retain your reason. You shall stand before your sister's palace gate, and be it your punishment to behold her happiness. And it will not be within your power to return to your former state until you own your faults. But I am very much afraid that you will remain statues. Pride, anger, gluttony, and idleness are sometimes conquered, but the conversion of a malicious and envious mind is a kind of miracle." Immediately, the fairy gave a stroke with her wand, and in a moment, all that were in the hall were transported into the prince's dominions. His subjects received him with joy. He married Beauty and lived with her for many years, and their happiness, as it was founded on virtue, was complete. And that is the story of the Beauty and the Beast. I think you all know by now that I'm a fan of the happy ending, and I think this has been my favorite story so far. But I couldn't help but question something that rings true for some of the other fairy tales that we've read as well. Why is it that the women in these stories, like the other women other than the main character, they're always really opposite? They're always really wicked, or not always. They're often so wicked in comparison to the character that we root for. I think in the case of Beauty and the Beast, it was really trying to drive home the point that beauty's on the inside and not on the outside. But I feel like we would have gotten that message even if the two sisters weren't absolutely horrid. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the original story of Beauty and the Beast, and also let me know what you think of this look. I was kind of trying to do like the colors from the dancing scene from the Disney movie. The yellow for Belle's dress and the blues for the Beast's outfit. If you like this video, if you like my vibe, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take it easy.